And we're here live here at the U.S. Quarantine Cup. My name is Harry Greenhouse. I'm with
Mike Madonna. What is up, guys?
And we've had an incredible tournament for you throughout the weekend. And we are now here at our finals. It's been an amazing time, an amazing tournament. And now we have the big time matchup, the University of Maryland Terrapins versus the NYU Thunder. A crazy tournament. Both these teams going through tons to get to this point. It's been an amazing time, right, Mike?
Yeah, it's been one of the better tournaments that we've seen. A lot of upsets, a lot of hard-fought victories. Maryland coming in as the number 2 seed, going up against, like we said, NYU, the number 8 seed. They both did have a bye coming into bracket play, and they both flexed a little bit moving on throughout the brackets. We saw Maryland, they have yet to give up 100 points all tournament. NYU struggling a little bit, but flexing a little bit more in their seeker game where they've had a lot of close wins. But again, coming out, being able to dominate the game, and really showing that they have the advantage in the seeker game against every team in the country so far.
And those seeker, then snitch game and seeker game is the key in almost every single game, especially when we get to this point in the finals. And NYU's seeker, Kellen Cupid, is as good as it's going to get especially in that last game. Sam Houston State's tied game coming down to the wire, a yellow card late in the game to Jimmy Banta of NYU. It seemed like it was going to be a lost cause, but Kellen Cupid coming through with a big-time catch to win that game.
Yeah, and that's really what Kellen Cupid brings to NYU. He's a player he's a winner. He's a player that knows how to win. He made the grab over Tufts in the Northeast Regional Championship. He's made about 4 close game-winning grabs already in the bracket play. Look for him to really be that X factor when NYU plays Maryland today.
He's this guy. He's lights out. He's one of the best you're gonna find. And if Maryland gives him a shot,
yeah,
that's gonna pull this one out.
Gonna be key for Maryland. Cupid cannot get a single look. And now,
but that big factor, Maryland's not even giving teams that chance. Only team in bracket play to stay with them has been Creighton. Since then, they've just dominated.
Yep.
Last game, semifinals against Texas State. Maryland from the opening brooms up, dominated the entire game, winning 140-40, just completely eviscerating them. Sheridan scoring 4 goals already in the beginning shift of the game. It was a dominant performance.
Yeah.
You got to run with that hot streak.
And now you got to remember, Maryland played Texas State in pool play too and had a very similar result. You would have thought that teams generally, when they have a second look at Maryland, they might be able to pick apart that really strong Maryland defense, that 2-2 zone. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maryland just flexed. They were the better, bigger, stronger, faster team throughout the entire tournament. Again, a couple goals through during the seeker floor, but nothing that Maryland had to worry about. Again, they did play Creighton very closely. They were actually down on the seeker floor, but that's where Mac Morgan, Maryland seeker, came in and really flexed his muscle and came up clutch for what honestly is the better team.
Yeah, and Morgan's been great for Maryland for years. He's not this sort of incredible lights out automatic that Kellen Cupid is, but he's reliable and he's consistent. And for this Maryland team, he knows how to get the job done, and that's what you need in these big games. He has the big moment in pedigree. He's won 4 regional titles. He's been the guy catching almost every single time. I think he caught 3 of the 4. I mean, when the big game comes around, that's what you really need, and that's the key. And we have a big game, and it is not just a big game, but it's a big rivalry.
Yep. I've talked to a few of the Maryland players. I've spoken to Mac. I've spoken to John Sheridan. They all say the same thing. They do not like NYU. This goes back to that the quarterfinals from last year's Quidditch Cup, where
crazy game.
Maryland felt cheated. They felt disrespected. They felt like they didn't get a fair chance. And Mac Morgan was actually quoted saying after that game, they've never been more mad. They felt like they didn't get a fair shot. They felt like everyone was against them. And Maryland plays very well with this chip on their shoulder. They're a very emotional team. Look for them to come out fast. Look for them to come out strong and just assert that chip. They're going to come out hitting.
That game, though. That game was crazy. Maryland, NYU, Elite 8, last year U.S. Quidditch Cup, I believe 12 it was. You have Maryland was up by 4 and 5 throughout the entire game, and NYU just crept back in. They got a goal, and then immediately Janice Liu catching the snitch to win that. I think it sent it to overtime. Then
and then she caught with the very controversial catch. If you ask Maryland, they thought that there was impeding. The snitch was on a handicap. NYU got the call. NYU got the win. Maryland has not forgotten. We actually saw them play again very recently, a couple months ago, at the Atlantic
Challenge.
The Atlantic Challenge, yep. And Maryland dominated
It was
the whole
a
way.
bloodbath.
And when we actually spoke to a couple of the NYU players, they're a little bit more humble than, the big Maryland.
Well, that's what we have here. That's the difference between these
it's two
personalities of
different
these teams.
teams.
Maryland, a
And
very boisterous, aggressive team. NYU, very calm, very serene.
yeah,
very
and
well
so
managed.
Frank Minson, we all know the name. We all know the star player. He's actually quoted saying that last year they know that Maryland felt like it was their year. They're coming in. They watched them. They were actually a little bit intimidated going up against Maryland, but what they brought against Maryland's emotion was patience. And that's going to be the key. Can they be patient if they go down 3, 4, 5 goals? They do expect, Frank Minson did say he does expect this to be a dogfight. He expects it to be snitch range. Doesn't expect any team to get a little bit more of an edge than the other one. And he thinks that just based on like what we said, Kellen Cupid, Frank Minson himself, that they'll be able to go through and pull this victory for NYU. Let's go through a few of the star players for the team or for the teams.
Oh, absolutely. One last comment before we head to those stars. This is the rubber match.
Yep.
And I think that's huge. Both teams in the past year have one win against each other. This is where it all comes down to. These stars are going to be key. I'm going to highlight those NYU stars that we've seen throughout the years. Frank Minson, the star chaser for NYU. He has been the focal point of their offense. He has been crucially dominant defensively. He has been integral to what they do offensively. When he is on, there's no one in this league who can stop him. And then right behind him is their star beater, Antoine Giron. Giron has taken over the beating game for this team, coming in with Lou and Ebner graduating. He has taken over and has become this really dominant beating force, destroying the Northeast, and he's continuing that here at Quarantine Cup. And these two are going to be counted on to make things happen again.
Yeah. If Maryland's going to have a chance to win, they have to be able to stop Minson, like you said. Maryland star players. We all know the name, John Sheridan, future Team USA national player. What can we say about him besides that he scores goals, he makes things happen on offense? He's very closely followed up in the beater game by Zane Bayala. Zane plays, 16, 18, 20 minutes a game. He's their main beater. All of their offense, all of their defense flows through Zane. Look for Zane to put up another, 16, 18-minute performance tonight.
He's going to need another marathon game.
Yep.
He's going to need to put it out, and there's nothing left to give, so he's got to go for that big marathon game.
This is where you forget how tired you are. You forget how hurt. You forget everything else. This is your last game. You're a senior. Can you leave it all out in the field? A few X factors that we have to pay attention to. For Maryland, Heather Farnan. When she is on, she is lights out, and that really adds another depth to Maryland's defense. We saw them go through. She's a key player in that Creighton win. Even though it was very close, she was the reason on snitch on pitch that Maryland was able to pull it out. Creighton didn't get a single look.
Constant beats from Farnan.
Yep.
And the girl is, as dumb as it gets, she is Bayala's beater partner, and she has been just as important as Bayala has. She's just a sophomore, and she has been lights out of this tournament. And I think her play in this one is totally going to be a factor in it. That other X factor for Maryland is definitely T.J. Jenneret, the rookie coming out of nowhere, making his debut at the Atlantic Challenge. And boy, can this rookie play. T.J. Jenneret is dominant on the field.
All this guy does is score. We know that there's some offensive players and there's some defensive players. T.J. Jenneret is a scorer. He just shoots. He scores. Doesn't care how covered he is. He will find a way to put that ball through the hoop. He's only been on the team for, 2 months now? Insane. We've never seen a rookie have this effect on a team. And again, this brings – Maryland always comes in with 2-3 lines for offense. This adds a whole nother depth when they just be able to pull a player from the school, just throw him in. And now we have 2 line ones. And Maryland, how do you stop that offense?
Well, the key to stopping that offense, though, it's got to be with the X factors for NYU right now.
Yep.
And it's been their female chasing core, and it's been led by – and these are my X factors for NYU, Danielle Fuller and Kate Martinez, because these two have been amazing at this tournament. And I think they're the keys in this game, especially if NYU is going to come out and pull out that 2-male beating set again. Expect these two, Martinez and Fuller, to make things happen. They've been incredible at this tournament, and with a combined together 23 goals at the tournament, they have been the keys to this NYU offense. But when you stop Minson, you stop the rest of this NYU attack, It's Martinez and Fuller getting it done on the offensive end and playing sturdy, dominant defense to shut people down.
Yep.
That's where it's going to come down to for NYU, for these girls to really play lights out and shut down this Maryland offense.
Yep, exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Both of these teams utilize every player on the field. We saw that. This is part of the reason Maryland hasn't given up 100 points. Part of the reason NYU's been able to pull out these close snitch range games. They utilize every ounce of talent that they have, and they're one of the better teams that do that.
You have to use everything you have, and you have to sell out for these games. It's used Quarantine Cup. You give everything you have in every possession. It doesn't matter what the situation is. From someone who's been there, who's been in this type of tournament before, who's played these long runs multiple times, you give everything you have in every game. You don't know if it's your last or not, so you just go, and you go, and you go, and you leave everything on the field. That's what we've seen from these teams. I think that's what we can expect in this game.
Yep. Both of these teams playing in their first finals. We're going to see which team can handle the emotions of the big spotlight. Maryland, like we said, very emotional team. Can that be a positive? Can that be a negative? It's going to be up to them, up to the senior leadership. They're a very senior-heavy team. Can they control themselves? Can they make the plays? And can they come through when it's needed most? NYU, again, very patient, a little bit more composed. Will that be a better way to go than Maryland's high, strong emotions? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Harry, your prediction.
I've been thinking about this game for hours on end since we've learned that it came out. I think it's going to be close. I know these teams have seen some weird games. Last year's big rivalry win for NYU being a comeback win. This year's win for Maryland being a complete slugfest where Maryland won. I think this is close. This is the finals. It's going to be close. And I have a snitch range win, Maryland winning this one 90-70 on a snitch range catch by Mac Morgan, just getting it done in this one. Mike, who do you got?
So very interesting. So I think it's actually a complete different game than what you said. I think it's going to be points. I think teams are going to be coming fast. I don't think NYU is going to be able to put up 100 points on Maryland. I think we're going to see a lot more like the second game that we saw with Maryland, flexing a little bit of their muscle with coming in with a half roster. I think Maryland wins this easy. Nothing's easy in the finals, but I think Maryland starts to pull away with the snitch on pitch. I think a nice 150-70 Maryland win, but I do think it will be in range when the snitch comes out.
Interesting. So looking at it like a snitch range game, then Maryland just blowing them out.
Yep. And that's a little bit of like what we saw at the Atlantic Challenge, where Maryland was just the bigger, stronger, and faster team. Once that snitch came out, it was just sprints up and down, up and down, up and down.
And that's going to favor Maryland with
every time,
Morgan and Rindock. It'll be interesting. I just got a message on my phone right here. It is from no other than the dentist, Ethan Sturm. He's calling his prediction from afar in, and he thinks it's the patient approach that's going to get at this one. His prediction is a come-from-behind win from NYU in a snitch range game, winning this one 100 to 90. So down 20, getting the snitch range pull. Kellen Cupid getting it done, says Dr. Sturm. So we got lots of different opinions on this one. I think it's going to be a really interesting match.
I think it's the best game that we could have asked for when the brackets were released. It's nice to see some new teams in the finals, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
It's going to be an amazing game.
Really quickly, before we let you guys go, if you can go through, there is a post in the American Quidditch Discussion, AQD. USQ is in a little bit of trouble right now. They do need some donations. If you aren't in the position to make donations, share your story, share the post, comment on the post. We're having fun with it. We're trying to share it to as many people as we can. Do whatever you can. It'll be really helpful. If you have any questions, reach out to myself, Harry, Amanda Dallas, Ethan Sturm,
Megan Anderson,
and
the rest
Megan
of
Anderson. Yep. Any of us, we're all very involved. We're all on our phones all the time. We'll get your message and we will answer. Harry, any final words?
We all love Quidditch, and Quidditch means the most to us, and US Quidditch has done a ton for us over the years. So it's time with everything going on in the world, it's time for us to give a chance and give back and try to help them out when they need it, where they can't help us in the moment. So the more we can do, the better it's going to be. With that last note, let's get ready for this final game. We're excited. The crowd is excited. This is Harry Greenhouse with Mike Madonna flipping the table. We'll see you later.